Hello, I'm Michelle Cornish, and I'm here with Valerie Nifora, author of I Asked the Wind, a collection of poems, and Valerie's first book. So, first of all, Valerie, congratulations on your book of poetry.
Thank you so much. It's very exciting.
Yeah, so I love it. I love the poems, I love the photos that you have in there. And
Thank
I
you.
especially love the cover photo and the story that you share in the book about that photo. So, could you share that with everyone else?
Oh, I'd love to. So the photograph, it's this. I'm going to show the book cover so for everybody can see it. But it is a picture of my mother's village. My cousin Elias Gramatiko Yanis took the photograph, and he was gracious enough to allow me to use it. And if you were going to be standing there taking the photo, to the lower left would be the stone building that my grandfather built. That was our mother's house. And then you go down the path and there's cousins and aunts and uncles further down. And this was a brother and sister that he just saw walking down this road holding hands, and he took a picture of it. And when he had showed that to me, I thought, oh my gosh, that is the perfect description of love, right? It's willing the good of the other. It's saying that I'm never going to let go no matter what. And if you study the picture, the little boy is staring off into the distance, and it looks like he's distracted and his body's kind of turned, and it looks like he wants to go that way. But his sister, the girl's like, nope, we're going to go this way. This is our journey. This is our path. And for me, that's what true love does. It keeps you on the proper path, and it keeps you on a journey in life, and you take it together. So I love this picture. It resonates with me. I'm so glad it resonates with you too.
Yeah, and I love that what you say about love being a journey on the path. And yeah, I just think that's so perfect.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
so you're Greek. So is the village where the photo is taken, is that in Greece as
Yes,
well?
it's in Greece. It's Kalithea, which is north of the Isthmus of Corinth. That's where my mom's from, up in the mountains. So it's her village. And the book is meaningful to me in several ways. One, because it is my mother's village, and it is my cousin who took the photograph. And there's some of the photographs in the book that he took as well, from his collection, that, again, he was just so gracious to allow me to share. Um, but it's also my journey through love, which was very telling. It's very personal. It's a span of 15 years of my life, and it's falling in love, falling out of love, suffering through the loss of love. So it kind of follows the arc and the story of anybody who's ever loved and lost and loved again. And it's divided into three parts to take you through that journey, and depending on where you are, you may decide to concentrate on one particular part, but the goal was to create an arc and a storyline. And my favorite thing about it is that last poem, that epilogue, where it's like a reflection, and you're able to, I think, ultimately make a choice, which is what we all do when we're in love with someone or in a romantic relationship, where you can decide whether or not you're going to end it and it's over and we're going to move in a different direction, or do you decide to fall back in love with that person, to go back into that journey with that person, to forgive, to forget, to move on, whatever it is that you need to do that brought you through that circle. And that's what I think is so different about this collection of poetry.
I love how you have it in parts like that. And I like what you said about people could jump into this part or this part depending on where they are in their journey with love. So I think that's really awesome as well.
Thank you.
So you mentioned that it spans 15 years, and you say in the book that you remember each moment
Yes,
when you wrote the poems.
I do.
So you wrote them then over 15 years, like the collection is over the 15 years.
Right.
Did you know that when you started writing them, did you know that you were going to publish them one day?
Nope. So it was how I was dealing with what was going on at that moment. So it's how I was dealing with heartbreak, or how I was dealing with loss, or how I was dealing with falling in love. And the funny thing about it is I never intended to publish it. It was never a goal of mine. It was just how I was handling what was going on at that point in time. I had a journal. I kept it buried in the bottom of the closet. And when I had something I was feeling deeply or I needed to express, I would whip it out and these words would come out, and then I would just write it and I'd be like, okay, I'm done. I've expressed that. And then I'd close the cover, hide it back down in the closet. So it was definitely a choice to come out into the world and say, all right, these are my personal memories. These are my personal thoughts. These are my personal experiences. and I'm going to share them with you because I don't want you to think that you're alone. I don't want you to think that you're the only one that feels that, or that if you go through that experience that there's no beginning again, because there is. And that was my goal and my hope in deciding to pursue publishing. And then I was fortunate enough to find a publisher who agreed and liked the project and decided to bring it into the world. But that's where I started. That was never my intent, though, when I started writing them.
Well, I'm so glad that you did, because like I said, I really enjoyed the poems, and you can tell, or I could tell when I was reading them, that they were really heartfelt and they came from your heart, which is awesome. And good for you for saving those all those years as well. Not even thinking about publishing them, and also for being brave to share with people, because I think there's so many great writers that are scared to share. So thank you for doing that. And I want to ask you as well, I feel like the poems have such a really lovely rhythm to them. Like they just flow so nicely. So is that something that you had to work at, or is that just come naturally to you?
It just came. So I know it sounds crazy, but there would be this, first there would be a rhythm that would start to develop and thank you for finding that. So that makes me feel better. That validates me. I'm like, oh, so it wasn't just me by myself that I thought there was a rhythm. So thank you for that. But I would hear a pattern and then the words would come, and the pattern or the rhythm or whatever it was very much in that moment of what was happening at that time. So some of them are very slow, some of them are very fast, some are longer than others. And it was just that experience with those words. And that was the other thing, that every word had a beat, it had a rhythm, it had a placement, and it had a meaning. So telling a story, like each poem tells a story, there's a beginning, middle, an end, and an emotional anchor. And being able to tell it in such a small space, I think was a challenge in and of itself when I was writing them, because I wanted to make sure I got everything that I needed to get in that represented that moment in that pattern as it presented itself. It's sort of like the muse, and then it would go. And then I was like, okay, I'm good.
That's amazing. So what advice would you have for an aspiring writer, or maybe especially a poet that has all these poems that they've written in a journal and maybe they want to share them, but they're scared to?
I think the greatest fallacy, first of all, share it, and it's okay. That's the first thing. Share it, it's okay. If you have the desire to write, then that's a gift. Use it, because not everybody has that desire. And I think what we do is we shy away from sharing what we know, but sometimes sharing what you know helps somebody else. And it doesn't have to help the entire world. Maybe it's just helping that one human being on that one day that they needed to hear that they're not by themselves, that they can connect to what you're saying. So that's my greatest advice, is just do it. In terms of whether or not they should share, and that's a kind of a difficult personal thing, but this is the thing that happens that no one realizes, is once you let it go, there's really nothing to be afraid of anymore. I think the fear comes before. It's kind of like going up on stage before you're starting to perform. You get all these jitters and you're nervous. But once you're standing there in front of the mic and you've done it, it's over. And there's really nothing that you need to hide from anymore. It's just a release. So if you're writing, if you're a poet, if you have a dream, if you have a vision, do it. You have to do it, because it's already in you. So go share it. It wouldn't be in you if it wasn't meant to be shared. I don't know if that helps, but that's my perspective on things.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. And I like how you said that it's freeing to share it, because it's true. Once it's out there, it's out there. And that's really the hard part, is just getting it out there. And then you can just relax and be yourself and create.
Done.
So yeah.
Yeah. It's the anticipation building up. But then once it's done, it's done. And it frees you of that. Like for me, writing them freed me of that, whatever it was at that point in time. And then publishing the book really freed me, believe it or not, because I'm okay now. Like this is everything that I had to say about it, and it's out there, and I'm good. It feels really incredible. And I wasn't anticipating that. I was really kind of nervous, and and thank you, because it is being well received. So that feels good too. So it's like, oh, okay, this is okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it is. It's such a beautiful book. The poems are beautiful. The images are beautiful. And maybe you could just touch on the images briefly as well, so that people know that there are images included with the poems as well.
Yeah, sure. So depending on the piece that's included in the book, sometimes there's a photograph that kind of helps illustrate. They're all black and white. It's a black and white collection. And there'll be a picture that kind of brings that poem visually in the story. So you have something to relate to. And some of the photographs in the book do belong to my cousin, like I said, who was really kind enough to let me, publish them. So
Yeah,
it's his art and my art in some ways.
yeah, I love that connection to that. Some of his artwork is in your book. I think that's amazing. And
Yeah.
I love that the photos are black and white. I think that they just give it that something extra special. Like I feel like color photos wouldn't be the same. Like I think the black and white are just perfect.
I think it plays on memories, right? So these are my memories. So
Yeah,
that's the
absolutely.
whole nostalgia feel,
Yeah.
I think is what kind of walks through. And I don't know, when I'm going to ask you a question. So when you were when you were reading them, did it bring up memories, or were you able to relate to things, or did it bring back thoughts or feelings that you've had in your life?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So many of the poems actually I could relate to, and I thought of different things regarding love throughout my life. And it's like, yeah, like, oh yeah, she understands. Like, and so going back to what you were saying about how people should get their work out there, and even if it's just one person that it touches, I think that's a really good point, because we're all human and we all share these human
Yeah.
existences, love being a big part of that. And so, yeah, absolutely, that more than one. Actually, I think that there probably wasn't a poem that didn't speak to me. Like, I thought they were all so touching and very well done. You could tell, like, the stages, and especially since you've got the book in parts as well, so then that makes it pretty clear as well too. But yeah, I absolutely was touched by them. They're very, very.
Thank you. Oh, so that means so much to me, because like when you write stuff, you write in isolation, and the fact that it resonates with anybody outside of you is like the greatest gift, which is why, to your question earlier, share your work.
Yes.
Because it comes back, and it's a great gift when it does. It's very humbling, I have to say.
Yeah, well, I think the thing that touched me the most, so I write poetry as well, and I struggle with the rhythm of it. So when I was reading your poems, I first of all was touched by the thoughts in them, but then also I was just so amazed by how well the rhythm of each poem came across. Like that, I was just blown away by that. I was like, well, these are really good. Like,
oh, thank you.
Like, yeah, I just thought you did an excellent job of, like you said, you were saying earlier about having to tell the story in such a short amount of time, like with the poems you have, so few words to be able to tell this whole story, really. And that just came across like you did an excellent job of doing that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So
okay, now I'm humbled.
Since we're talking about love, and of course all the poems are about love, this is a little bit, not related to writing, but what would you say to someone who has maybe given up on love?
Oh, don't give up, please. No, it's a cycle. So you may not be in love with someone right now. Oh well, it'll come. It always comes, and I think that's the greatest fallacy, is that people don't think it's going to come. It always comes. It just may not come when you want it. It may not come in the way that you think it's going to appear, but it'll always come, and you're already loved. So even if whatever you were in right now didn't work out the way you wanted, there was a period of time where whatever that other party was loved you, and you loved them. And there's some unbelievable beauty in that. There were two people that connected for however long that lasted. And that's okay, because nothing lasts forever necessarily, right? So for me, it's gratitude, to be grateful for the moments that you've had, even if they didn't wind up being perfect or forever. And just know that there's something else that will come, because it always comes. I think this whole world kind of revolves around love. It's just not always when we want it. Like we don't get to command it. You don't get to say, show up now. Like I didn't get to say, all right, I'm going to write 25 poems today. It's like it comes when it comes. And it's just a matter of being open to it coming when it does, in whatever form.
Yeah.
So I'm a hopeless romantic. So that's my answer.
That's a great answer. I think that's so true. It's probably more than likely it doesn't come when you want it to come. It comes when you least expect it.
Yes.
I love what you said about it being a cycle, because that just makes so much sense. I mean, it really truly is. And then just being thankful for the love that you have had, the love that you do have. I think that's
Right.
a great way to think about it, for sure.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for chatting with me today. Like I said, I love the book and I wish you much success with it. So tell everyone, where can they get it?
Sure. You can find my book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart. It's also available at Powell's and a few other indie distributors. It might even be at your local library, because some libraries have picked it up. It's on the Kindle. It's on the Apple Books. So you could just Google the title and it should show up, hopefully. Huh. And if you like it, if you bought it and you like it, or you got it from the library and you're willing to write a review, I would love that, because like I said before, one, is humbling, and two, it's always nice when you create something to know that it resonated with someone. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, and actually that reminds me, I should go and write a review for you. That's a very good point. So just to remind everyone, the book is called I Asked the Wind, and it's by Valerie Nifora. So Google that and you can find the book. And Valerie, do you have a website as well?
I do. It's valerienifora.com. So you could find me there. You can see I have a book tour that started when the book launched in December, and it's going through. So you can check out where I'll be next, as well as where I've been. And if you want to send me a note, there's a contact me button. I promise I will write back. So I'm pretty easy to find.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me.
My pleasure. Thank you.